First step. The shape. The force will answer him in the same tone you used to address it. Finish proverb. Everything you believe is true, for you. We do not act out of our perception of reality. Every figure and every structure that our belief system assumes in relation to any matter is our way. Our forms allow express ourselves within the parameters of what we believe we are. Good, bad, possible, impossible, these concepts are meaningful to us as we believe in them. The Earth as a planet forms. We need ways to express ourselves here. Our bodies are forms. So are thoughts and emotions. We collect energy from the universal reservoir to fill in the forms outlined. What ultimately ends up materializing into physical reality is the way we work with our desires and thought patterns. Believe that something is true and it will eventually manifesting. Nothing changes until the way we have to be challenged. If I believe in everything we say believe. How often have you not surprised by the compromise of negative thinking or behaving in a way that he knew, even as he did so, it was not what they really believe? I suspect we all do it. The pretense and the ritual dedicated to the great truths of the Spirit in our day would be enough to make us all walk on water. What is a sensitive person who believes in love, justice, equality? Whoever lives more or less attentive on planet Earth today certainly believes the need to protect the environment ambient to what we say is associated with generosity, with the improvement of the human condition, with the realization of their talent. There is no area of human experience in which we are more emphatic, more emotional or more inflexible in our beliefs than spirituality. We declare that our God is a God of peace, while engender more efficient ways to kill. God is everywhere, we say to each other, and then continue deleting the least people and even nations, races, religions and entire species. After all, what's the problem? We are all hypocrites. We are simply pouring soft words of a noble belief system as ink on our frustrations. We are oppressed? Desperate? Or we may have a high degree of ambivalence working in the subconscious? Secretly suspect that our ideals are nothing compared to the realities of the material world? How do we become what we believe? Maybe it starts with the acceptance that we are already living what we believe, maybe just is not what they wish to believe. I want to believe in love, but it means giving up my belief in fear. I want to believe in abundance, but it requires me to soften my attachment to it as limited. The fact is that I'm living exactly what I believe. If I want to know who actually believe in regard to myself, to God, to reality, all I have to do is look at my world. I'll just repeat what my agenda is, whether hidden or not. As the Christ consciousness said, will you be given according to your faith an ideal, even if we think intuitively true, is not our belief to be lived on a molecular level. So we become this belief. It is no longer an ideal out there, external, we can use or save as the clothes of each season. What we can no longer be separated from us than the color of our eyes. I can theorize that the universe is a lovely place, but turn a blind eye to the existing drama, which is not so lovely. But when I truly know that the universe is lovely, I become love. Love inspires everything I do, as pray, prepare a salad or discipline a child. Love is in my fingerprint. A belief that becomes part of our being has the power to affect, and even to change, everything it touches. See the example of words. When our repeated color, usually sound like clickies, dull and lifeless. But these same words taking flight in a fusion of desire, will and conviction, take the alchemical power to transform. When we become a belief, the frequency energy it emits penetrates our permanent aura, what we radiate to the world. The aura is formed by all of our subtle energies, physical, emotional, mental and spiritual. Moods, attitudes and even our physical ups and downs are like the changing colors and states of a lake that reacts to different weather conditions. All of the frequencies have a sound and color. They can be felt in our auras by most people and can be viewed by others. Even the slang we use shows that we realize these emanations. We say that someone is green with envy. It is true. The color of envy is reflected, in fact, the aura, like a bilious green. We say that we're feeling blue in English. The word blue has two meanings, blue and sad. A daunting person has a particular shade of blue in your energy. The aura of truly depressed person is filled with a gray lifeless. When a person is angry, red spots can be seen in your aura. When is the time of anger, the energy disperses, and the red glow in the aura. However, if that same person walks by constantly angry world, the red energy becomes permanent part of your aura. This person sends his anger to the world all the time, as a story that was repeated all the time by a radio station, while we are likely to irritate us with the time unstable that we experience in relation to each other. These permanent radiations affect the whole world. Just get the color of our skin, our permanent aura when we are experiencing a particular truth. There are, for example, in certain auras, a deep and intense shade of blue, the color of devotion. You may think that blue should be seen mainly in the aura of pious monks. But I've seen more that specific blue tone in the auras of scientists than in any other group, both spiritualist scientists as materialistic scientists, although they were able to crawl if I suggested that they were seeking God in a tube test or the end of the telescope or microscope. But if God is true, this is exactly what they are looking for, the material truths of God. And they use that particular color of devotion in their auras. I am referring here to real scientists, not technical. Technicians can be very skillful manipulators of material reality, but they are not real scientists. The true scientists, however great the brilliance that has revealed the realities, yet behaves like a child before the unknown. True inquirers of truth can master the existing knowledge, but will not try to lock you in a cage. One side is always open to the universe so that there is expansion. Einstein once said that he learned everything he knew, first, through intuition, and then spent hours in the laboratory in search of evidence. We respect and reward those who support the understanding we have of reality, but perhaps our greatest debt is to those who seek to venture outside of reality. The collective vision. One of the challenges to be conscious creators and not only reagents is to accept that we are influenced by the collective vision of reality, even if we are not entirely convinced of it. Just as we share a similar physical form that we developed together for thousands of years, we also share the ways of thinking that organized the world to us. When you and I pontificamos us to create something new, we have to examine the parameters of our social belief systems and accept what insufflamos these forms, as do all the others. We are not only conditioned by these voices of our family and our close friends, but we are also affected by messages from the races and the world about the reality. In our identification with the material creation, we have appointed guardians of myths in order to strengthen the existing reality, always reporting it to us many, many times. The guardians of the myths on television, in movies, in popular songs, in advertising and political propaganda are generally highly skilled in the art of manipulating symbols, and if they really believe in what they report, their stories are very powerful. In fact, we cannot blame them because no myth has the power to affect us if we do not believe it secretly. If someone really wants to understand the people, it is good to study the myths. Generally, people are relieved and reassured when a myth is represented for them, especially if it brings entertainment. Thus the cinema, television shows, advertising and magazines become compelling reflections of what we believe collectively. However, television is also a powerful change awareness agent. The people who suffered the horrors of war, famine or political greed were removed before us. But through the direct action of television and movies, the time and space explode and we see that these people are not others. We note that are ourselves. The simple account of the facts is creating a slow and subtle perception of unity in human consciousness. Grace to exist. All great thinkers, mystics, spiritual masters, avatars, scientists and artists have mastered the ability to get around beyond the forms of cultural thought. We can materialize any new belief if we take seriously the words of the incarnate Christ: for God, everything is possible. A story. Sufi. Sufis are masters in showing a principle making use of a story. Here it is one that highlights the difference between believing and being. It seems that there was a great Sufi master who was very learned and highly specialized in theology and Sufi ritual. One day he was walking along the shore of a lake, deep in thought, when he heard the sound of a song across the lake, coming from an island. This corner hurt your ears, because he knew exactly how it should sound, and it was not that noise. As it was a responsible teacher, she decided to correct this distortion. Therefore, rode to the island, where he found a euphoric little man singing with the greatest joy. The Sufi master showed up, making it clear, of course, was an expert in the matter, and offered to teach him the proper way to sing. The little man was grateful and accepted the teaching. When the Sufi master was pleased to have fulfilled his obligation, he returned to the boat and started rowing. It was about half of the lake, when he heard a strange sound: splish, splash. Splish, splash. He turned and saw the little man running after him on the water's surface. "Wait a minute, O great teacher," said the little man. "As you said it was the last verse? There is another story, the Hebrew tradition, which teaches us to see beyond the tradition. There was once a very important and holy rabbi. Whenever misfortune threatened the Jewish people, he went to a certain place in the forest to meditate. There, he lit a fire and prayed a special prayer and, miracle of miracles, the misfortune away. After he died, the tragedy threatened the Jews again, and one of his disciples, also a rabbi, sought heavenly help. He went to the same place in the forest and said, 'O Lord God, world leader, I do not know how to light the fire, but also know how to do the prayer.' And the miracle happened again. Many years later another rabbi feared for the lives of his people. But he had heard only vague versions of this tradition. However, desperate for a miracle, into the woods and prayed, 'O Lord, I do not know how to light the fire. I do not know the prayer. But I know the place and I hope that enough.' And once again there was the miracle. After a few generations, another rabbi wanted to help his people overcome the disaster. He sat at home and spoke to God, saying, 'I have no idea how to find the place in the forest. I am not able to light the fire. I know prayer. All I can do is tell you the story. I hope it's enough.' Once again the miracle occurred. We do not have to be wondering what is the correct belief system and work feverishly to achieve a good position in that system. The job is not to be wondered how to be good. We are already good because we are made in God's image. How could it be otherwise? The great illusion is that we are not good. This is the illusion that first acquired and then we set out to prove. The job is not to be wondering what to do, how to do right, how to reach the gold star. It is concerned with being, with the desire to make the restart. We will be doing a lot. The more awake and the more aware we are about who we are and who are all the others, the more power we have, the more creative and loving we become. Love leads automatically to the service. A new connection requires the awakening to our birthright and the reminder that we already have a bond. It is not something we acquire. We just have to accept it. Grace was never taken from us. We withdraw ourselves with our limited beliefs with respect to ourselves. Most of us, when awake for the light, is entangled in a complicated structure made of dogmas, defenses, fears and tribal prejudices. Our human ego protests. He prefers 1,000 times reorder reality according to the information that is available. The perception alters reality may be afraid to completely lose control if not to stop at reality. And as the old tyrant who killed everyone in the city for one who insulted him could not escape, we killed much of our creativity with our need, full of fear, to protect the known realm. I believe that much religious fanaticism stems from this need for control. The great creators cast it beyond the known, but often they pay a high price in terms of personality. I have observed that the persecution they find is the task of a soul, and they seem to support it with a provision that is amazing for those who are afraid to venture a little beyond the tribal myths. Sooner or later, some more adopt the belief of a heretic pioneer. Then more. Finally, all end up seeing things in a new way. And the process of creating work continues. If I have a belief in strengthening much energy, thoughts, words, passion, time, it becomes a living thing and prints it on a very thin universal ether that accepts everything I put in it, whether good, bad or indifferent. Then it becomes a magnet that ether. Like cells attract. If you agree with the thought that I created, it will begin to create strength, considerably more than just one more. The principle of geometric progression multiplies rapidly energy. If thousands and then millions of people agree with us, then the belief becomes accepted reality, a new frontier. Whether in the microcosm of life, whether in the macrocosm of our species, we form the reality based on our perceptions. We build our systems to support these perceptions. And then evolution advances and challenges. We begin to question the old, the fight between the old and the new, expanding them to make a commitment to the new reality and to build a new way of conceiving it. The concepts with which we agree establish how the world is run, governments, religions, and personal life. No wonder that the devil has given the answer he gave when he and a friend were walking and saw a man stop in front and pick up something from the floor. What was he caught? She asked the friend. Oh, just a little bit of truth, said the devil. Does not that bother you? No, replied the devil. I'll leave that manufactures a belief about it. If I believe I'm only human, I will not be able to create anything else. Often we are proud to be realistic. I only believe seeing, we say. Perhaps the best part of wisdom consists in saying just when I'll see to believe. There is a story about a Portuguese navigator, Ferdinand Magellan, but also have heard being attributed to Charles Darwin. During Magellan's voyage around the world, he anchored at the southern tip of South America, in a place now called Tierra del Fuego. He was welcomed on the beach by peaceful natives who were astonished to see him there. How that appeared suddenly on the beaches. He pointed to the ships anchored in the distance. However, large boats with sails were out of their reality, and they were totally unable to see them really. Finally, one of his shamans, who was able to admit the possibility of the unknown, saw the ships and taught his people to see them as well. I know a woman who at the age of 3, lost her mother. The minds of children does not accept death. When relatives took her to close the coffin to give a final farewell to his mother, she saw an empty coffin. Yes, it is clear that his mind was divorced from the reality of death. But that only emphasizes the ability of our brain has to deny all reality we do not understand, or that challenges our concept of reality and security. I wonder how many ships sailing lost because we firmly believe that are not present. One of our most famous detective fiction, Sherlock Holmes, liked to remind us that circumstantial evidence is very misleading. It may seem that it points to one thing, but if you slightly change the perception angle, may find that the evidence is of an equally convincingly to something quite different. There is nothing more disappointing than an obvious fact. If I believe I'm just what I created, my talents, my body, my IQ, my emotional reactions, will invest heavily in preserving it. But when awake to the truth that I am being behind the creation, I free myself to look at my world in a new way. Most of us are deeply conditioned to believe that is what it does and experiences. I am experiencing the wealth or poverty. Therefore I am poor or rich. I have a doctorate. Therefore I am that doctor title. I resented my sister. Therefore, I am resentment. These beliefs are so printed in the way our identity we build powerful tribal supporters to make it clearer to each other that what we do is what we are. However, accept our experiences and what we are is something that can create a very tenuous reality. Once, reflecting about our many religious beliefs, the sad irony is that these forms, you can believe that bring us the divine in each other, often serve to separate us. This leads to thinking about the challenge of being both spirit and matter, so that we take this matter to the spirit for best comprehensions. Metaphorizando. A water picture I was shown flowing everywhere, without borders, full of light. Then I saw several containers collecting some water. One of the containers was thin and long. Another was low and wide. Some were artistically worked. Other, simple. One was octagonal. Another was square. None of the containers were filled with water, but all had a little. The water containers adapted to the format. When she moved and came to overflow, containers remained alive and pure. But when the water could not flow freely, it was stagnant and dead into the containers. I realized that the water was the Spirit of God moving, or whatever name you choose to designate the first source. It has no limit, it flows everywhere and is offered free to all. Containers are our human ideas crystallized in forms and structures. If a human recipient does not stop the water flow, If not sufficient, water will be supplied endlessly. But if the container inhibit human nature of water will no longer be a good container, and the water will remain stagnant. Even though I respect the containers, I am personally attracted to the water. Even though my temper can feel more at ease with one container to another, I understand that it is no more than this, a container to collect a bit of truth, appropriate in this dimension unless it becomes inflexible. Once we got to taste the water, the containers are suitable but not limiting. How now can I identify with what is unlimited? We can accomplish the impossible. Since the impossible has been done by one person, it will expand the container itself and redefine the limits. As Henry Ford once said, if you think you can or cannot do something, you're right. The challenges we face today seem impossible to overcome as we continue to look at them with the eyes of the past. Effective and impersonal energies of evolution are leading us forward to further expansion. We all have intuition about this change that is now in process. If we have much attachment to existing forms, we will have more reason to fear the end of the world. Those of us who are not so attached to the old ways speak of a new era to come. Many see in transition signals the return of Christ. Imagine that our universe is impelling us closer to what is best in ourselves. We cannot understand how this evolutionary energy works, we can only see that it is indescribably powerful, showing appreciation for everything and everyone. We can explore these powerful energies to expand and grow, to build new concepts and new structures. That's what many people are doing. They are becoming agents of evolution, breathing the new air and aligning your will, your thoughts and your choices in the direction indicated by it. The Spirit is unfolding in each of us, here and now. The possibility of revelation is open to us, but we can only hear it if we believe it is possible. At one point, we must decide if we are going to continue our own relationship with God or simply accept the experience of others. As conscious creators, we are always walking a line between essence and form. Inspiring undefined essence, we breathe the creation that is the sum total of our beliefs. The trick is to know that it is only a creation, in a way, and not of the same essence. When we fail to identify with what we create, when we recognize that we are creators, we are free to explore more, to delve. Dogma: the warrior's way. When he started, he was a true warrior who longed for the truth. I must go in search of something, said. Older, satisfied with the fact that this youthful passion was controlled, that his human ambition was moderate, they handed him the secret map. He traveled for many seasons before reaching the Terra Alta. Day after day he sat on the grass at the top of the mountain, with life and suspended breath. There was only silence. He saw nothing and heard nothing. Then, at the dawn of the seventh day, when the moon and the sun put in balance, your search reached a result. Earth's Ines left a large white bird with wings bathed in golden, velvety light of the rising sun. She flew gently to a nearby tree and sang a beautiful song so that the warrior cried upon hearing it, raising his hands in gratitude and supplication. Without hesitation, the bird flew to the palms of her hands outstretched in the air. For a long time they were together in harmonious union. When the winged messenger told the young and eager warrior many extraordinary things, his spirit broke free from its moorings. Then he remembered his homeland and the tribe that had left. I need to go back and tell the others, he thought, and prepared to release the bird. But a thought nagged. And if they do not believe? I will hold the bird and will have to believe. The big white bird offered no resistance when the great warrior's palm closed firmly. Full of joy in holding the source of his revelation, the warrior ran down the hill toward his house, not realizing what had happened to the bird. He gathered the people around him and told him the wonderful things he had learned from the bird. So proudly presented the winged testimony of his search. But the eyes of the bird were locked and empty. The soft white wings, formerly arcadum to take flight, they were now flat and lifeless. People were intrigued. But they themselves had never opted for the search. Certainly, the warrior must know things. Under his orders, they built a temple in honor of the bird and told warrior search history over and over again. Many young people were inspired to choose the search. But that was long ago. The warrior is no longer young and ambitious. he sits alone in a dusty room and airless. They say he made for himself a cloak of white feathers and, on certain days, sitting in front of the stuffed bird and is waiting for her to talk to him.